Okay, so there might be a little small guide here. I don't know, maybe a long video. I don't know how long it's going to take. But here we have a small guide of the new dungeon from the moon, which is Pit of Heresy. It is not that hard to do. Little disclaimer, I did this with another friend who was actually like around 921, 923. I just needed somebody else to do it with. And we did this on the first day of release, so it was October 29th. And so we went and basically blind at this point. This is obviously a VOD from our stream we did. So the first step you want to do is go talk to Eris, and she wants us to get a tier 3 chest from the new patrol game mode and kill 20 nightmares in that game mode or activity, I guess you could call it. Nothing too special what we did. We're both on Warlock. His build doesn't really matter because his most of the time would be killing ads, and while I do all the sword stuff, basically. So my build, I used the shotgun for sometimes a kinetic shotgun, and I used Recluse, and I used Leviathan Breath for the most of the encounter because it's just easy to use and has okay DPS. And then at the last encounter, I used the Whisper of the Worm. I don't know. I felt like the best I could use for DPS as basically I did all the damage and the boss. Then he was to distract or kill ads that's coming at me basically. Anyways, let's talk about more what we're doing. So I might try to do like a short description in the beginning in the first encounter, or the beginning of each encounter. The gameplay in the background would be the run that we completed the encounter in ×2 speed. And then after the short description, I might talk about a little bit more details of what you need to do. If you need a little bit extra more help, I'll be in the comments answering questions if anybody has questions. But it's not that hard. It's really simple. We figured it out all on our own. It took us about 3 hours to complete the dungeon just because it was pretty tough to do if with one underlevel person, and it's a little bit better if 2 people, 3 people. Obviously, it's lots easier if 3 people. I've done it with 3 people. It's very, very easy. But like doing it solo, it could be pretty tough for sure. But we're both on Warlock, like I said, and it makes it pretty simple. So anyways, so this is the first step. We got to kill 20 nightmares in this new activity, Altars of Sorrow. It is a very, very simple activity. All you need to do is protect the area with the giant floating crystal above it, and then after a couple seconds, you will start spawning enemies or nightmares with a defeat. And if they reach the end or to the crystal you're defending, it will reduce the time by 10 seconds. But when you kill a nightmare, you get plus 10 seconds, and if you kill ads that spawn, you get +1. So you can, if you're running out of time, just have somebody keep killing ads that spawn. Of course, this goes up to tier 6, and then tier 7 is the final boss, which pretty much gives you better loot, I'm pretty sure, or just better stuff. And if you want a weapon, a loot specific weapon from this activity, you want to get to tier 5, and when you get to tier 5, it will always drop a weapon, and apparently they rotate daily. So if right now on the first day, on Tuesday, obviously it'll be different next Tuesday, but right now it gave us a shotgun, and then the next day would be the sniper rifle, and then the third day of the rotation would be the rocket launcher. So right now it's the next day, so it'll be sniper rifle in this video. But yeah, basically it's pretty simple. You get to tier 3 or above, and you get the chest, and you kill the boss. And if you don't kill the boss, and when you fail the boss phase, it goes back to tier 6 or 5, tier 6 I think. And if you can't kill the boss, then I would just let the timer run out, so you get the chest, so you can do the dungeon. Pretty simple with that. There's only 5 tiers from what we have here. This is where we're trying to fail the encounter because we didn't get the people around. Apparently, with this amount of people in this patrol area, we're not able to kill the boss. Somehow, for some reason, I don't know why. But here we complete the quest step, and there's a chest. Don't forget to loot the chest. If you do miss to loot the chest, the loot does go into Postmaster, so you don't have to worry about picking the chest up. But it does give the new weapon if you get to tier 5 and you fail it. So nothing too hard. I think it's a guaranteed drop. It's not a weekly thing. You can keep grinding it over and over again if you want the shotgun really badly. It is a slug shotgun. If you want sniper rifles, yeah. I explained. Anyways, after that, you want to go back to Heresy, and she'll give you dialogue, and you will have the dungeon unlocked, and you can do it. So like I said, I'm gonna pretty much the gameplay in the background is a run we did, but I'll try to do a short description what you need to do, and then after that we will continue to explain in full detail of what we did and loadout I use. I mean, it's the same loadout. I use a shotgun, Recluse, and Leviathan Breath with Devour, Bottom Tree, Void, and it helped out quite a bit, Devour. I'll explain that later. Alright, on to the dungeon. Alright, the first encounter, Necropolis. It is a very simple encounter. It is kind of similar to the Shadow Throne dungeon, where there's a bunch of symbols. I guess you and your fire team should have names for each symbol. This one we named it T, and it's just a guaranteed area where you can go pick up the sword. Now, what you need to do is when you go into this room, there's a sword bearer. When you kill the sword bearer, he drops his sword. And then there's symbols above him that's chains, and you want to go to those rooms with the sword and kill a certain enemy for certain, not ability, but certain mechanic with the sword, and it will drop, and then the symbol will disappear when you kill that enemy. So, for example, I don't know if the symbol changes, but we always got the same 3 symbols. Doesn't matter what order you do it in, but depending on what the order it is, that's what the room has the enemy in. So, as you can see here, we look at the symbols, and it's pretty simple. We have them all named out. We know that we have O, we have C, we have K, T. It all depends on what you guys think, and there's no universal. It's whatever you guys want to call it. I'm sure if you're trying to do like some sort of Sherpa, you would want it to be a universal thing. Anyways, so what you need to do is one room will have a sword and shield knight, and that you can only do damage to them with the sword with left clicking or the primary attack. Basically nothing too special, just gotta keep hitting it. Also the sword, you can use the super, right, and that will basically do a ton of damage. Doesn't matter what enemy, whatever boss you're fighting with, the super on the sword will deal damage to it no matter what. Anyways, next up, there's a wizard. You need to use a right click. Right click is like the Black Talon exotic. It will shoot a projectile, and basically it will deal damage. It doesn't do a lot of damage. You gotta be careful with that. You can't just stay in front of the wizard and just keep right clicking. You gotta run around and right click. But it does track like Black Talon, and pretty simple. Anyways, the last one, or one of them, is the Shrieker. The Shrieker is actually the easiest one out of the 3. All you need to do is block with the sword, and that will basically deflect the bullets back to the Shrieker, and it will just deal damage, and it kills pretty fast. If you don't know how to block, it's usually the hotkey to C or the class ability. I think people are saying if you don't have it like that, I don't know how to explain it, but I think that's what it's binded to. Nothing too hard with that. Then once we kill all the enemies or the bosses in the rooms, you can just go, and there'll be a green beam of light, and you go down there. There'll be a bunch of ogres, and I think all you need to do in that situation is kill the pit, whatever, the knight that has the name of pit in it, and it will unlock the door, and that's the first encounter. Very simple. All you need to do is have one guy or yourself have the sword and kill the enemies that are named in each room that you need to go to, that's located on the middle of the room, and just kill them, and pretty much the chains will disappear, and you will just have to finish the encounter. It's very simple. It's hard. Just if you're under leveled or just solo, you want to clear the bridge, kill all the ogres, all the knights, and that's pretty much the short description. So as you can see, we already killed a knight in the video right now. Nothing too hard. I'm the guy with the sword because I have the higher power. I take less damage. And the sword bearer, once you kill one sword bearer, he will keep following you around. So if you do lose your sword, if you go to the bridge, he'll spawn again. So you don't have to worry about going back to the room. He will follow you around. We don't know why. I feel like it's a bug, but it could be wrong. Playing on a warlock does help a lot. Like I said, I'm using Devour build, and my friend is probably using middle tree well of radiance, just because he's under level, and that just helps. That doesn't matter what level you are. It helps. It benefits a ton, basically, even if you're not very strong. So it's very useful. The good thing about Warlock is that we can use the sword and a grenade at the same time. So if you have the sword and you need to heal, instead of dropping the sword, you can devour your grenade and that will heal you up fully. Or if you're using middle tree Dawnblade on Warlock, you can also hold the grenade and drop the grenade that heals you fully and gives you an overshield. So using a Warlock with the sword is pretty useful. You can, benefit of all that. And here's like our first time fighting a Shrieker. We didn't know what to do until I figured out that you need to use the block. But pretty much it's pretty simple. You'll see here in a second here that we just block and you kill it. Very simple. It's the easiest one. And you gotta remember all these mechanics, because all these mechanics will be run at the end of the dungeon, as you would, well, I'll explain when it gets there, pretty much. The last one is the wizard, which I don't need to show, but pretty much just head to the symbols you need to go to, and just, right click on the, or heavy attack on the wizard. Nothing too hard. This guy spawns wherever he wants to spawn. But, yep. That is the first encounter, and we'll head to the next one, or the next part. Okay, so this is near the end. This is where we killed the wizard, and it's a giant green beam of light, and that's where the exit is for the first encounter that we have here. For what I remember, like I said, you have to kill the pit guy, and he'll open the door, or just clear that area. I think that's how it works. I'll clear the ogres. I don't know. It was something pretty dumb. There was a pit guy in there. I think he just dies there, and then once you kill the pit, it'll say a way is open and enemies will start to disappear after a while. But once you finish that, the door will open and you can go inside, and the drop is a legend engram. It's probably a powerful drop for people. For me, it wouldn't be, but we got a shotgun, nothing too special. And the next part is just the walking to the second encounter, but it's not really nothing too hard. It's hard to explain. There's actually just 3 encounters in this, which gives you 3 powerful drops, but then there's 2 intermission kind of stuff, and you can see how my friend died there. Fun. All right. Anyways, the entrance to this is at the bottom right. If you go to the bottom of these doors, it is just the entrance to a little crack in the wall. Nothing too hard, but we died there because I don't know how to use a warlock jump. I'm bad at warlock jumping. But just down here to the bottom, and that is your route to get to the next area. Nothing simple, and we'll explain the next encounter, which is actually really simple. Alright, so now we're in the pit. This is the encounter where you have to go into these little holes, and there will be just 3 ogres, one on the left side, one in the middle, and one on the right path. And basically they are immune, and you have to kill these knights here in these little holes that are located, one on the left hole cave, one in the middle cave, and one in the right cave. And they'll drop a void orb charge, and you have to use that charge to basically open the door at the end of the tunnels. And there will be one, like I said, one on the left, one on the right, and one in the middle. And it will be just 3 runes that will indicate which ones you have left. So if you do the left rune symbol will disappear. So you just got to make sure that if you're in the middle on the right, you'll know pretty much if there's no exits on the right side or no holes on the right side, then you're in the middle. I mean, on the right side. If you're in the middle and there's left and right exits, then you're in the middle, and all that stuff. So basically, you just got to find, there's no map. I don't have any map, but you just got to just basically dodge all the ogres, pretty much, and that's pretty much it. It just, like I said, they're easy because it's not the actual encounter. This is the second encounter, but it's pretty much a soft encounter where you just gotta, it's just the intermission between the first and second one. Basically, you don't really get a chest at the end of this one. It just gets to the second one, but you just gotta make sure to live, because if you die, it resets because you have 1 life. But the ogres do hurt, and their pathing and their AI targeting is kind of scary. That's for sure. It's not the best, but basically you just trying to find doors. Doesn't matter what order you do, the symbols don't matter. It's just symbols are just indicating what door you pretty much chose, basically. So you gotta get to the end of the hallway, dodge for the ogres, and just put one in. This is the middle door, and you can only put it and unique doors if I can't go back to that one and put in another orb. But here we have another knight. Is the middle knight on the left side, I guess. I don't know. To be honest, it's really, really simple. Nothing too hard. Like I said, you just gotta find the orbs, go inside the areas, kill a bunch of ads, and kill the knight. That will drop the orb for us, basically. Nothing too hard. Just gotta find the doors. And that is pretty much it for this one. Alright, so this is the second encounter, Chamber of Suffering. Now we're just, this is not the actual attempt, but just a look around of what we're going to do. So we're trying to figure out what you need to do. Basically, it's really simple. There's a giant looking annihilator in the middle there. And what you have to do is to stand in the middle. If you don't stand in the middle, if you leave the middle for too long, it will wipe the entire room and reset the entire encounter. And so there's 6 symbols on the wall, which are pretty useless. They don't do much. Only thing to do is that it's the same. It's the room where you enter from the ogre. So there's 3 doors, and those 3 sections will spawn these knights. Will drop void charges, and we need to do it 6 times, and you have to drop it and deposit it into the void depositor. Of course, you know, it's pretty a lot of enemies that spawn on the left, right, in the middle. Every time you deposit a orb, 2 knights will spawn on 2 ledges above the middle door. You want to make sure you clear those, or they will probably die from those knights. So a sniper would be probably useful, or the Leviathan Breath, or anything that can pretty much one-shot those knights. Basically, it's very, very simple. You will get a debuff called Curse of Suffering. I, for one, do not have a clue at all of how to really, like, what that actually does. My guess, or our guess, is that the more stacks we have, the more damage we take. But when you deposit a void charge into the depositor, it will remove the stacks from it. So if you want, if like multiple people, you want to remove, you know, the stacks on somebody, then you can drop the orb for somebody and basically do that. But like I said, you have to stand in the middle, and you will not die. It will keep the Shrieker pretty much, or the Annihilator pretty much silent the entire time. You don't have to stand on all the time. If you're solo, you can run around, I guess, and then touch it like 1 time and it'll probably reset. You pick up the orb, and it will basically remove one of the lettering onto the door. So let's go and do the actual attempt we have. So instead of using Devour, I switched, since we're doing duo and we have one underlevel person on our team, we decided, okay, let's just switch both of us to Well of Radiance and just swap between one guy using it and one guy not using it. And we both have Phoenix Protocol on so that we can recharge our supers, so make sure we can chain our supers. And then whenever I'm going to grab the orb, I would consume my grenade so that I can take less damage from it. And so we would just basically, every time we deposit an orb, like I said, we have to kill 2 knights that spawn at the top of the area, which are very annoying to deal with, and my aim is horrendous sometimes. Anyways, very simple. Like I said, we just rotated, and very, very simple encounter. It's actually pretty fun after a while. Basically, you just got to keep moving around, making sure that we pretty much cycle our supers, and pretty much just keep going and keep killing, I guess, to survive. Very, very simple. And like I said, consume my grenade, and we go and kill it. Really simple. Do it 6 times, and that's it. Alright, so next part, we've got some parkour. Nothing too hard to do, but it is also the 4th encounter, I guess you could say. Nothing, like I said, it doesn't give you a chest at the end, but you have to do it to get to the last encounter, the 5th encounter. So, am I saying this right? Oh, the 3rd encounter, I guess, but yes, the 3rd boss, the boss encounter. But here, at the beginning of the area, we have 3 symbols, basically, and those symbols are really simple. They're just, like I said, you gotta name it, and you know, you pretty much gotta just know the map. I don't know, the map is not hard to run around, but you gotta run on the map, and a bunch of parkour and a bunch of hard ledges a lot run on. But basically, there would be some areas with wizards, and those symbols will be on their balcony or whatever, or their, I don't even know what you call it, their tower or whatever, and you gotta just kill the wizards, the 3 wizards that are have those symbols on them. And nothing too hard to understand, but just gotta kill them all, and it'll unlock the exit at the end of the opposite direction of the this area basically. Nothing too hard. The best way I could explain it is that just go look at your radar. If you see enemies on your radar, just head in that direction. You don't really need to. Those symbols aren't that really important. Just go and head in that direction, and pretty much you will find those wizards. And I'll show some that we've found or whatever. This area is pretty much like a giant maze. You gotta run around and try to find the rooms. Like I said, if you look at your radar, you can pretty much see whenever you find enemies in a room, you will pretty much find a wizard at that point. So the symbols don't really matter that much, but as long as you find the enemies, you will pretty much find the wizards that run around, basically. So here is like one of them. This is, I think, what the symbol we call it. I think it's A. It's the V, upside down V with a small line above it. Oh no, this is T. This is where it looks like a pizza, but from afar, if you look up close, it has like a curved top and a small line on the bottom of it. And you just gotta kill the wizards and get to the end, which I'll show where the door is, or just show where we find the door. It's pretty simple. It's pretty open area. You can pretty much find the door. Pretty simple. And warlock jumps. I suck at warlock jumping, so there's that. Alright, this one is a tricky area. I forgot to mention. This one is to the symbol, which is like a kind of it has like a K, but double K. So like it shows the left side, the opposite direction, a mirrored version of K, basically, or an H. Looks like an H. So it's this hidden like cave here. I'm sure there's no other way to get here other than this route. And if you're a warlock, jump over here and pretty much just do this parkour. And there's a wizard here. Like I said, it's like kind of a K. What is that? It's like a, yeah, kind of a K. We call it K, but it could be H if you want. But that's the last symbol we need to kill, and it's actually right at the exit as well. And you can exit from here, and the door to exit, which will have symbols above the door showing which ones you've done. And you just gotta head over it and go to the last encounter, and I'll have the gameplay and explanation of how to do it. It's really simple and not that hard to do. You just need to do the right DPS and use the right weapons, and I'll explain all of that when we're doing it. Alright, so this is the final encounter, the final boss to the dungeon. This is me trying to switch. This is my loadout I use. I use bottom tree to void with devour, and then we have a sniper rifle as our primary, a kinetic, and then we have whisper of the worm, which is catalyst, but it don't really matter that much, as our power, and then we have a recluse as our void. We're using the void helmet, Nezram, whatever, Sin, I don't remember. Void damage does more damage, and my friend is using Dom, middle tree Dom blade still with well radiance. It's a very, very simple encounter. It is basically everything we did in the dungeon all in one, basically. So what you need to do is that these 3 different rooms here, and each spawn the 3 enemies, the sword and shield knight, the wizard, and the shrieker, and there will be the sword bearers that will spawn. They do not walk up the stairs, but you have to kill them to get the sword. I would recommend having one person, or if you want multiple people, pick up the sword. Like I said, this is why it's very useful having devour or a warlock, where you can put down a rift when you're fighting these guys. They do a lot of damage to you, but you can't dodge your attacks. And when you kill one of them, it will drop a void orb, and you have to put an orb in all 3 of the spots that are located around the boss area. So as you can see, if you want, you don't have to put the orb in. When you put the orb in, it will spawn adds in or a bunch of thrall. So you want to make sure if you're putting an orb in, you're able to kill the adds as well. But like I said, you just need the sword and do the mechanic of putting the void orb in. If you're not that strong, want to be patient with what you do. Make sure you kill the sword barrels, kill all the adds. It will make life a lot easier. The boss doesn't leave the middle. And so once you get all of the orbs in, you will have the DPS phase. The DPS phase is about 20 seconds, 15 seconds, 30 seconds, I don't know, around there. And what happens, you have to be in the middle to deal DPS to the boss. You cannot be outside. I know it's kind of weird using the whisper of the worm in the boss circle, but he doesn't do that much attacks. But around halfway through the DPS phase, a bunch of thralls, cursed thralls, will spawn. So you gotta make sure to get rid of those and not die to those. So of course, if you all die or resets fully, and since I'm doing most of the DPS in this run, I have to make sure I'm the one living. So like I said, if you're underpowered, I recommend, so the wizard, I have my friend put down a well of radiance so I can stand here, so that we can actually kill the wizard pretty quickly. And you pick up the orb. And what the best thing is that, to be honest, you want to kill the sword bearer before you put the orb in, because he's pretty annoying, to be honest. But what I do, I use my Nova Bomb and grenade. So I'm using the grenade mod that does the weakening effect. So I would grenade, and then I would use Nova Bomb, which will do a ton of damage to him. But here we're using Whisper the Worm, and does 20k per hit around there without the passive. But here it'll tell you when he is going to wipe your team if you're standing inside the circle. Now, once the DPS phase is over, you gotta keep it resets fully, and you gotta redo everything. So my recommendation is to go from left, middle to right, depending on how you feel. Left is the safest because it is the Sword of Night shield, and he can exit out this area, but he doesn't really go too far. So you can pretty much, if you don't get one shot by him, he's not that bad to deal with first. The Shrieker is the easiest, and then Wizard's the hardest if you don't do it correctly. But basically, just go from the left, the middle to the right. That's how we did it, and safely, and just keep doing it over and over again until you can get the DPS down. It took us about 4 or 5 tries, which is 2 people, one who is basically max power and one who is very underpowered. But it worked out. It's a very simple boss. He does have an attack where he does throw an AoE fire in the boss phase. So you want to make sure you're not sticking together as a team. You want to spread out when you're doing a DPS phase. If you don't get one shot, it does hurt a lot because it throws first the initial impact of damage, and then basically the fire over time will hurt a lot if you stand in it. Just like the Fanatic's electric circle, but a little bit smaller, of course. But if you do drop an orb, it will disappear, of course. But when you kill all of the bosses in each of the room, 3 orbs will spawn in the room, basically, again in their spots. You can put it wherever you want, and then they'll disappear after a while. Basically, like I said, it's very simple. DPS sniper rifle I recommend a lot because you want to snipe these sword bearers. Just a couple shots. But yeah, it's a very simple boss. Nothing too hard, nothing too complicated. Just gotta make sure you survive. He does stomp a little bit, so make sure you don't get too close. But if you have multiple people, you can pretty much bait the AI and stuff. But like I said, Shrieker is really easy and all that stuff. So here's like the Shrieker again. Super simple DPS. You just gotta block and you'll kill him pretty easily. I don't know, nothing too hidden. There might be some strats. Like I said, I'm using Whisper the Worm, which is not the best weapon, even though because they nerfed it. But for me, I had a lot of heavy ammo drop on the floor for me, so I didn't have that problem of heavy ammo being a problem. The sword, because since the sword bearers are yellow bar, has a higher chance to drop heavy ammo. So you keep keeping those guys, and you'll pretty much get a lot of ammo for the encounter. But yeah, I was using Devour and with weakening grenades, and you can see the next phase here. Like I said, we'll do one more round here of this to show you guys how it really goes. A full DPS phase, we do a decent amount of damage. We want to make sure we kill the knights, like I said, so that they not that annoying to deal with. And of course, communication is key. Actually, I think I messed this part up. Oh no, we're fine. So yeah, I don't know why I used the sword. Anyways, yes, so we have the Whisper the Worm. Didn't have my grenade up. I was like, I wish I had the weakening grenade, but we just super, and we do decent damage. As you can tell, we do about under 30%. And since my teammate died, I didn't want to really keep going DPS, but we put in a little bit more. But once he puts the sword into the floor, you can still just stay there for a little bit, but there's no point risking since it wipes you in one shot. And we did about almost half his health there in that one phase. So as long as you are making sure the ads are clear, each time you put an orb down, it will spawn ads in. So you want to make sure you clear those first. Don't go too fast or you will probably mess up. But we'll skip to the end and pretty much see the last damage phase we did. Alright, so here's the last damage phase. Killing the sword bearer or getting him low, and then we deposit the orb in so that we don't have that problem. And we weaken grenade, Nova Bomb, the ton damage, Whisper the Worm, and pretty much slowly dies. And there we go. That's the end. We get the emblem for completing it. And the pinnacle award dropped for me was a masterworked rope. Same thing for him. So seems like, I don't know what if that's a common thing, but that's what we got. And pretty much that is the dungeon. It's really simple. I'm not going to, don't think I'll do a guide for the Xenophage or Xenophage because I don't actually have footage of that. We did do it. You do to do at least the first encounter to do the Xenophage quest for the machine gun. But other than that, it's not that hard to do that quest. You might want a team to do it though, because the boss you have to fight in the Xenophage quest is pretty tough to do. Not gonna lie. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it. You get the triumphs and there's other stuff. But here we did 1.5 million damage in the boss phase, and nope, that's pretty much it. Hopefully that helps. Like I said, if you guys have questions in the comments, I'll try to help. But other than that, that is pretty much the dungeon. It's pretty fun, and you could, I think, get the essence for the pulse rifle in the dungeon, but I didn't get it, so sucks to be me.